What's happening, folks? Welcome back to Celtic Fans TV. It's time for the starting 11 prediction for tomorrow's game at home against St Johnstone. Before we get into it, looking at St Johnstone's form, looking ahead to what the lineup might be for Celtic tomorrow, I do want to give just a brief reaction to Dermot Desmond's interview with Celtic TV that aired today, was put online today. I tweeted earlier on, it's very nice of him to surface and to show his face for an interview now that everything is going great. I know the interview was recorded on the 29th of March, just before we won at Ibrox, but the season going well. We were sitting 3 points clear at the top of the league at the time, and he came out and gave a nice interview talking about how well everything's going, the process of recruiting Ange, the kind of interview that we were looking for around about 18 months ago, and everything that happened last season. But we're not here to go over that. Just interesting that he chooses to do this now when everything is going so great, when the fan base and the support really needed something like this, some sort of input from him at times last season when it was really difficult. It was interesting to hear him talk about how he's got no plans to ever sell his shares, even if someone bids 3 or 4 times the value. He fully intends to pass the shareholding on and pass the responsibility on to his son, which I don't think is really news to anyone. I think Ross Desmond has attended every AGM for at least a few years now. Dermot Desmond is never in attendance at AGMs. So interesting. I don't really see where the direction of the club is going under Dermot Desmond's leadership and this board's leadership. Okay, it looks like if we win the title, we will get Champions League football, and that will give the club another platform, another position of strength to capitalise on. But the problem for this board is that throughout their leadership over the last 10, 15, maybe 20 years, every time the club have got in a position of strength, they've failed to capitalise on it. So there you go. That's my thoughts. Without getting into too much detail, we could break it all down, but we'd be here all day, and it would involve going over and over stuff for last season that is in the past now, and it is not worth talking about. But I did find it really interesting that he chose this time to give that interview when everything is going absolutely brilliantly, thanks to Ange Postecoglou. So St Johnstone come into this one sitting 11th in the table, fighting for the Premiership survival. They've had a really poor season after a historic season for them last season. Double winners, probably the best season in St Johnstone's history. They've really, really struggled. They lost a lot of key players in the summer. The 2 games against them this season, we had the 2-0 game at Celtic Park, we had the 3-1 victory up at McDiarmid Park. In that game that was basically behind closed doors, I think 500 home fans were there on Boxing Day, the day that Kyogo got injured, and it just so happens that Kyogo will be back involved in the squad tomorrow. As I say, they're fighting for survival. They're down there in the playoff spot at the moment. They do have the ability to make a game stuffy, difficult, defend well. As I say, they'll be fighting for their lives. I think every day in the St Johnstone team will want to be playing Premiership football for what that means for their livelihoods next season. They won't want to be playing the Championship, so that makes this game really tough. From Celtic's point of view, we're in fantastic form. That win at Ibrox last week puts us in a really, really strong position, but there's no room for complacency. I don't think the manager will allow any complacency. We've got to keep that intensity up. We've got to be foot to the floor until the end of the season. We need 13 points to secure the title from the 6 games that remain, and that is 6 games remaining, by the way, no 7. I know I said there was 7 games remaining about 5 times in a post-match pint last week, but I was excited. I was getting a wee bit carried away. There's only 6 to go, so we've got to get 13 points to secure the title, but we can't take our eye off the ball. We can't get complacent. We certainly can't get carried away after last weekend's result, but it was a big, big step for us, and I thought the team were brilliant. So we'll get to the lineup then. In goals, it'll obviously be Joe Hart. Brilliant save last week for Sakala, as I talked about in the player ratings video. Massive save at a massive time in the game for us. A few shaky moments playing the ball out from the back in the early period of the game. But to be fair, I think the whole team was shaky at that time because Rangers started really fast. They went a goal up. But we adapted, got the equaliser, and then I think everyone settled down. So it'll be Hart in goals, no question about that. At right back, I think we might see a change. I think Juranovic could come out of the team. Ralston will come in. He played the last 20 minutes at Ibrox last Sunday, Ralston. Really good performance off the bench. I think the highlight is obviously that tackle against Kent. I think he left a bit on Kent with that one. But he's been brilliant for us this season, Anthony Ralston. Full confidence in him to come in and do a job. If Ralston is to be rested, if Juranovic is to be rested, and I expect the rest of the defence to stay the same. That's the main man, Carter Vickers, alongside Starfelt, and Greg Taylor at left back, who's put in two of his best performances in a Celtic shirt against Rangers this season, no doubt about that. I expect him to complete the back four. In midfield, the captain, who was excellent last week and dragged us back into the game at a time where most Celtic players couldn't get a foot in the ball, struggling to pass to a teammate, and that cauldron, 1 goal down, everything going against us. He got on the ball, drove forward, past 3 Rangers players, got a ball into the box, and from that we got the equaliser, and then we got on to settle and win the game after that. Callum McGregor's input last week was absolutely top class. He's been phenomenal all season, a real candidate for Player of the Year. Those Player of the Year debates starting to surface now that we're approaching the end of the season, and for me, I think it's between Callum McGregor and Cameron Carter-Vickers. In front of him, I think we might see the combination of Tom Rogic, excellent in the derby last week as well, and Matt O'Reilly. I know O'Reilly came off with a knock, but he has been training this week, and I think this gives the manager an opportunity just to rest Hatate. Really tired in the game last week, struggled to adapt to the pace of it early on, and then early in the second half, he was running on fumes. You could see that, and I think he's really struggling from a great start to his Celtic career, but coming off a full season in Japan, his fitness is maybe not where it should be, and I think he'll need a pre-season to get up to where he needs to be, to get up to the best version of himself. He'll need pre-season in the summer. I think this is maybe a game that he could drop to the bench in, and we'll see that combination of Rogic and O'Reilly, and that should really help to unlock the St Johnstone defence if they're going to defend deep, which you would expect them to at Celtic Park. On the right hand side, I think Jota will keep his position there. There'll probably be a lot of switching with Maeda on the left. I think those two were really good last week in different ways. Jota maybe not his free-flowing best. I know I gave him a 9 in the player ratings. Might have been a bit generous for some people, but I thought he was a real threat. Bassey did get the better of him once or twice, but he's just brilliant, Jota. I think he's really dangerous, can go either way, and I think he's a nightmare to defend against, so he'll be on the right hand side. Maeda covering every single blade of grass on the left. I thought last week he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, particularly without the ball. He's just a nightmare. Jota, as I say, a nightmare to defend against in a slightly different way, given his dribbling ability and how sharp he is on the ball. Maeda, a nightmare when you are in possession. Never gives you a minute's rest. His pressing is fantastic, and he's notched a few goals for us as well, so it wouldn't surprise you to see him get on the score sheet tomorrow if he can get himself into those good positions that he does so often. And through the middle, despite the fact that Kyogo is back available, I think it will be Giakoumakis to start the game. Again, another one that left everything on the pitch last week. That is all you can ask for from a Celtic player in any game, particularly that one, that they give absolutely everything for the cause, and Giakoumakis did that last week. Really, really good performance from him. I think Kyogo really gives us a different dimension. I think we'll see him for 30 minutes off the bench tomorrow, and I'm absolutely buzzing to see the reaction he'll get from the crowd. He's been out a long time now, the best part of 4 months, and you think about that injury that he had in about September time, you're talking nearly half the season. We haven't had our best player, and that makes the position that we're in even better, because the job the whole squad has done this season has been remarkable, and the improvement since Ange's come in is there for all to see. But I think Kyogo coming back makes us so much stronger, and as I say, just gives us that different dimension. I expect to see him off the bench tomorrow, and I can't wait to see him at some stage in the game. So there you go, that's the starting 11 that I think the manager will go with tomorrow. Like this video, comment with your own thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you after the game tomorrow outside Celtic Park. Cheers.